Welcome, welcome to this year synagogue, tabernacle, good faith, Sunday morning massal. I, I, you know, I didn't. I know what I'm talking about. All I really want to talk about is Epstein. It really, Epstein didn't kill himself song TBG put out. You can easily find it in our catalog. It's the point of that song is basically to point out that we know about Epstein. So why do we know about Epstein? Like when you look at Trump, for instance, and everything that was happening in 2020 and how it was all hidden from us, and you realize like when it comes to Cosby, you know, everybody knew about Cosby long before Cosby was exposed. And yet, the news didn't tell us about it. And people seem to forget that if they're talking about it, it's because they want us to know about it. If they don't want us to know about it, we don't. And it's really, really simple. Belch. I mean, the Epstein thing didn't, it wasn't like it was from 2009 on, everybody talked about it. It was pretty well hidden. And then suddenly, it's something we're all supposed to be focusing on for a minute. And I never could understand, was it that we were supposed to see it for what it is and then, glean some sort of conclusion came from it and be okay with it? I don't know. Because any other time in history, they just wouldn't have told us about it. We would have just never heard about Epstein. Whatever did go down would have went down behind closed doors. And you might not really get it, but other than those who watch my feed, how many of you knew that Trump was scheduled for an exam to examine his body and get some of his samples and whatnot so that they could put them against the samples they had, and because he was fucking charged. The only reason why it didn't go any further is because Katie Johnson pulled out. Said, I just can't do this anymore. My family and I are getting threatened and harassed, and there was no national conversation about it, so that had to be a bit disheartening for her. But I didn't know. I didn't know about the scheduled examination until a few weeks ago, a month ago or whatever, when I first looked it up. And it was just because I happened to look up 10 years ago or what happened. I looked up news March 2nd. For some reason, I can't remember why I actually did it. Something must have been happening or had happened. But to see that he was actually scheduled for the examination on that day, and I don't know if he went through with it. I don't know what came of it. But I know that it wasn't being talked about. What was being talked about was how we're all going to die from COVID. And it really is strange, like that, every day that we get further away from COVID, if I happen to see something from that time, like I literally saw some sort of sporting event yesterday where you could tell the announcer had a fucking mask on. And you just look at what they were able to do to us based on nothing. Literally. I mean, do you guys remember the first COVID case? The first COVID case, well, you don't know who she was because at the same time they're talking about there's a pandemic about to happen, there's this pandemic happening. This also happened to be the day that Corey Feldman started his press tour to promote his upcoming movie, The Rape of Two Corys. Hey man, if the camera work is your excuse, you should run with it because it's just going to get more and more difficult for you to handle things, and you should probably just run. You should run now. If you're looking for your way out, there it is. But the first COVID case just didn't fit the narrative, right? You would think if the system is telling us that there's a pandemic about to happen, this is about to be the worst. Yeah, no wonder only 3 people are watching. I see 47. I don't know about you, but good job, buddy. Maybe we should work on counting too. Peace out. But the first woman to have COVID during this time when they're telling us this is going to happen. And look, if I'm in charge of the situation, and word is that there's some new super virus going to kill everybody, when they find out who this chick is, she's in California. They don't post her picture and be like, "Hey, this have you if you've been in contact with this woman, or this is the places she's been over the last few days, if you were at these places during this time, you need to come in and get checked because there's this pandemic going around and we need to nip this in the bud right away." That's not what happened. They kept her identity hidden. They told us that she's on a ventilator now and, shit's real bad and all, but she's from California. Like, they didn't tell us shit. And that's just not how you would do it if there's actually a real thing coming on. Look at all these fucking idiots, man. Look at the Aaron King. Gee, I wonder who Aaron King is. Anybody with that King last name, you gotta be leery of, including Martin Luther. What's happening, old Rob? But the whole thing with COVID, and it's like you guys have just forgotten about it. But the Epstein thing was literally August 29th. No. August, what was it? August 19th, maybe? It was somewhere around there. It was late August where Epstein died, which I don't think he's dead. And I've been saying it the whole time. Like, of course he's not dead. The thing that people seem to forget, I know I'm falling for the trap here, but just to say I agree with conspiracies. However, submarines for sure exist that literally work for a manufacturer that makes products like valves for the Navy. Well, fuck, that means submarines are real. If you worked at a place that made valves, that 100% means submarines are real. Doesn't that seem like you sure are giving a lot of trust to a system that lies to you a lot? But at the end of the day, you know, do you have a stronger opinion on my belief in submarines or the entire Epstein narrative? Look at this coward Aaron King. Typical Jay coward, right? Keeps saying things and then retracting the messages. Right? Isn't that amazing? Oh. Matt, who's worked on submarines, has been associated with YouTube for 12 years and has 0 subscribers. I believe it. It's called Electric Boat in Newport News. And there are companies that make these things. So what? I mean, seriously. For you to base your beliefs on the fact that there's a product that was made. And the thing is, like, you know, and I say this all the time, if you really do believe that I'm wrong about submarines and that's something that you want to talk about, go watch the first 9 parts. The first 9 parts of Submarines Aren't Real, part 1 through 9. And just debunk what I'm saying. You're talking about something that I'm not talking about. That I'm not making arguments for or against. You know, why would you insist on talking about something that isn't being talked about when the thing that's being talked about is a much bigger deal? But seriously, look at some dumbass can't argue with what I'm saying, so are you calling me a Trumpanzee? I don't think so. That's literally it's the name of the show, right? It's the name of the thing. So just like I say all the time, do you have a hard time with titles? Like, are you somebody that goes to Shell gas station? Well, Shell. And you get mad because they're not selling shells? Are you somebody that would buy tickets to see Smashing Pumpkins and be mad when you get there and there's a band playing and they're not just people up on stage smashing pumpkins? Like, are you really that stupid? Especially when it's not like it's the only thing in the title, right? There's more to the title. But hey, if that's, you know, that's the way you have to think. And again, considering you just hang out for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, you'll realize that's not what's being talked about. Why not engage in the conversation that's being talked about and then bring it back to the submarines? If it's really that important to you, which I can't imagine why it is. But going back to the Epstein thing, Like it's really strange to me that that they were able to release what they released, and people are. I mean, what I think is most people haven't bothered to watch the video, but they just assume, like they do with the submarines, right? Well, the system says that it's the truth, so, and it's a great example of it too, right? The system tells you that they released a video that undeniably shows that Epstein committed suicide and that there's no questions can be had after this and blah, blah, blah. And then you see the video, which again, I think all they have to do is say it, and a lot of people, most people will just believe that it exists. But that's what they tell you. It's unquestionable, it's undeniable. You'll see this video and you'll know for sure exactly what they're saying. He committed suicide, there's no other way around it. But you know that's, if you've watched the video, then you know for a fact that's not it at all. And you have Kash Patel on Joe Rogan. Joe says, yeah, we were told that the cameras didn't work. And Kash is going, I don't know who told you that. I don't know where that came from. Like they are clearly lying. So why would you think these AIPAC-controlled dual Israeli citizen government agents, Belch, would be telling you the truth about anything? You know, they haven't earned the position to where if they tell you something, then you go, well, they're fucking super trustworthy, so I'm gonna believe it no matter what. But you've already been trained with that, right? You've already been trained to accept flat out bullshit, regardless of whether it makes sense or not. All of you Christians out there, you know your shit's nonsense. You know you've had enough arguments with non-Christians. You've seen enough in your lifetime to know that the narrative you're given is utter bullshit, which is why you can't have a conversation about it, because you know you don't have anything to say. So you just get mad and attack people that try to talk about it with you. But you've already been tricked into accepting bullshit from an authority and believing it to be true. And so when you look at this Epstein tape bullshit that they put out, like it literally, you should be insulted. I would think people would be insulted, especially the Trumpanzees. You know, knowing what you've chosen to believe and who you've chosen to believe in, while being presented just utter shit. Like, I don't understand. Aren't you smarter than that? Yeah, see the channel, anyone talk. Yeah. Look at this desperate nonsense. This person's gonna talk anything they can but what I'm saying. Which, in reality, the only argument you should have, or you could have in this, is that no, that the tape is actually very telling, and that kind of bullshit. If you're opposing what I'm saying, then I guess you believe that the tape shows you clear cut. And when Kash Patel says to Joe Rogan, I don't know who told you that apparently the cameras were working, and all this time we've been told that they weren't. You were just mistaken. I mean, it's such crazy bullshit. But what I see, like, so yesterday I was watching this channel with it was like a podcast with this Asian dude and this couple of white dudes, and it seemed like absolute controlled opposition bullshit to me. And the points that some of them are making, and how come there's literally nobody saying, like, how do we even know what that video is. Yeah, it has a timestamp on it, but we don't fucking know what that is. The part where they say they show Epstein walking to his cell, well, no, you don't. You show a guy in a suit and the face happens to be blocked out by one of the banisters, one of the railings on the banister, or one of the panels on the railings, right? Like it's you have no idea what the fuck you're looking at. You don't know if that's what it actually looks like inside the prison. You don't know if that's the actual prison camera. You don't know if that's the actual day. You don't know anything about it. And then they show you this shit from 11:58 to 12:08. The thing, not only does the video, was there a missing minute, literally the camera angle changes. This is supposed to be a camera that's inside of a housing that, like, so nobody can get to it. You know, this isn't a camera that moves at all. So why would the angle change? It's such bullshit, right? But this is what, I guess you, like, for all of you that believe in submarines, well, then you believe this footage, because the same people that tell you to believe in submarines are the ones that tell you this footage is authentic. And this footage answers all your questions, and this footage shows without a doubt that Epstein was suicided, and, you know. I mean, it's funny how so many of you are that arrogant, right? And I know people are arrogant. You're the arrogant one. Blah, 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 blah. Right? They're going to come at me. You're so arrogant, you think you can discern which things are true and which things aren't. Most of you will undoubtedly see the Epstein video and be like, this is shit. What the fuck are they showing us? You know, why is there the missing minute? And then they release the missing minute after the fact. Well, how do you release the missing minute if supposedly it was a reset of the cameras? And the cameras do that every day. These cameras have been around since 1999. And they do this every day. And we're going to show you how it happened. Like, it's crazy. And it's crazy how they consistently do such a bad job faking the thing that we're supposed to see. What's up, Matt? You know, like when you even like the moon footage, it's actually really stupid. It's really bad. It's just you don't have another frame of reference to go off of, so you just sort of accept it for what it is. But stepping back and realizing what you're looking at, it just looks fucking stupid. It looks fake. I wasn't here, so I haven't heard that. It's funny how you want someone to listen, but you are ignoring people yourself. Right. I should, instead of talking, because that's what I'm doing here, is talking and presenting an argument, I should be reading dumbass comment after dumbass comment. Let's see. Prove you're a real person and reply. Cars aren't real either. Some things I can discern from your, such as your submarine claim, being on a few kinds of them, that ruins your narrative. Right, like, because again, within 20 minutes, there are people who are just so into submarines that they have to come here, and they so desperately want to talk about something not being talked about because half of the title says so. And see, the thing is, so many of you just don't understand what we're up against here. So let me take the quick 5-minute presentation to show you just what we're up against here. Right? Like, this is so much deeper than you probably realize it is. So let's go with, first and foremost, we have to show you the future at the time, former Prime Minister of Israel, making a pretty bold statement, bold claim on the Israeli National News Network.
Moetzet Yesh, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged Instruction Day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to learn.
All right, so that's Naftali Bennett, and he's literally saying they control Wikipedia, the #1 source of information in the world, that they control it so they can influence what we think when we look things up, so that it has a balanced and Zionist perspective. Like that, this is as telling as it gets. I really can't, like if you're somebody that I mean, I don't know how many people are making an argument and presenting you with evidence like this, but this is the evidence to show you this. And this was made in 2010. Do you really think that they did this in 2010 and by 2025 they just let it go? They stopped controlling Wikipedia? Probably not, right? And I love the dumbasses that argue like my wife or like a child, right? You know? When you point out specific things, when I'm talking about, they go, oh, you see this with cops all the time too. When people who know their rights stand up to cops, and cops be like, oh, you know everything, don't you? Huh? You know everything. I'm like, no, didn't say I knew everything. However, when it comes to this specific thing that I'm pretty sure you haven't looked into, know more about this than you. And think about how insecure you have to be to not be able to handle that somebody might know more about something than you do. Especially considering it's not like you've spent any time on that shit. You've never spent any time looking into it. You just inherently think you know more because you're some arrogant, chosen piece of shit, or some J, or some typical white dude, right? So I just showed you how Wikipedia is controlled by Israel. So that means when I go to Wikipedia to look things up, I'm not 100% getting the truth. That's for sure. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying Wikipedia is 100% true. I am saying Wikipedia is the narrative that they want us to have. And I just showed you, the proof of that, right? So then let's delve into it a little more. So now we're going to go to Wikipedia. We're going to go to the Team Jorge summary, because we're going to explain the comments, right? A lot of these comments fall into this category. Team Jorge is the name given to an outfit of Israeli contractors specialized in the use of malign cyber activities, including hacking, sabotage, and bot farm-run social media disinformation campaigns to manipulate the outcomes of elections. One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called AIMS, Advanced Impact Media Solutions. The group was exposed in February 2023, after an award-winning undercover operation by journalists from Israel and France as part of a consortium of investigative journalists coordinated by Forbidden Stories, which also included all sorts of other news organizations around the world, including the U.S. The organization has been active since at least 2015 and boasts of having manipulated 33 presidential elections worldwide, 33. Many of them in Africa, so don't worry, white people. Many, meaning 4 or more, in Africa, and in 27 cases with successful results. Their activities were revealed following a 2022 sting operation in Tel Aviv, carried out by 3 undercover journalists who posed as prospective clients and filmed their interactions with Tal, T-A-L, Hanan, H-A-N-A-N, the group's leader and former Israeli Special Forces operative, in which he explained the inner workings of the organization. According to Hannon, Team Jorge has existed for more than 2 decades and has been engaged in propaganda and disinformation activities in more than 30 countries. However, its first documented activity dates back to 2015. Their services have been available to government intelligence agencies, political campaigns, and private companies that wish to covertly manipulate public opinion. One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called AIMS, Advanced Impact Media Solutions.
Go get that box from upstairs and a little
What
towel.
is it?
It's a baby squirrel.
Get the fuck out of here. What do you need?
A little box and a little towel.
God damn it. Bring these like little fucking creatures in our house. She's such a fucking... The main is a software package called AIMS. The software automates centralized control of thousands of fake social media profiles on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Telegram, blah, 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 blah. So, without any sort of doubt, without any argument that could be made, I'm showing you that they have the software that can do exactly what's being done here. Get up. Get up. You didn't learn your lesson last time? You're touching your phone now and all that shit. Ugh. So gross. Oh, here goes Aaron King. Dumb fucking Jay Coward. I'm sure he's going to have something intelligent to say here. Let's see. Oh, hey, this guy at least has 142 subscribers. That's actually a person. So now, right? So we just read the undeniable 100% evidence that Israel uses a software that nobody else seems to have access to that automates, and they say it's even beyond bots. It's more like avatars when you read the actual articles about this, because this is just the summary, right? So that's the automated side of things, which is where most of these idiots, most of these fucking idiot profiles come from. But then there's this. And funny enough, act.il is one of these Wikipedia pages that can't even be edited, right? Right? So here you go. So act.il was a social networking service used by supporters of Israel to oppose online anti-Israel content, such as the BDS movement, boycott, divestments, and sanctions. Its activities were referred to as an, quote, online propaganda campaign and, quote, a virtual situation room for pro-Israel experts. Pay attention here. act.il directed its users to, quote, missions to like, comment on, and share pro-Israel material on social media. It also asked users to flag, report, and respond to criticisms of Israel. Users were guided how to respond, which might entail writing a reply using the provided talking points, which is why all these idiots just say the same dumb shit. This is what they're told to say. Or sharing or upvoting an allied comment. The app also provided users with ready-made memes promoting Israel's perspective for them to share. By completing missions, users earned points, unlocked badges, and had their scores displayed on leaderboards. Safe to say they got prizes for it. So when you see that on my feed, the feed where we talk about how we need to kill pedos, we need to stop the genocide, and we need to eliminate this J control scheme that dominates all of our lives. We are all victims of the same cult. To have people come here with the specific intention to disrupt, like, it's not like they're trying to win the debate or present some sort of evidence to the contrary of what I'm saying or prove me wrong about anything. They just come here and they want to distract. They want to shoot the messenger and I'm crazy and I'm this, that, and the other, because there's nothing they can actually argue sensibly. How is anybody going to explain what motivates them to come to the feed where we're talking about Epstein? And they have a negative, like they're not like, fuck yeah, this whole thing needs to be exposed. Fuck all these pedos, we need to kill it. Like, how come they never say that shit? They're just sitting here trying to change the subject, trying to, again, shoot the messenger. They're trying everything they can to gain attention. And so many of these profiles are here every single day for hours on end, and they never say anything. You have to ask who is behind that. Does that make sense to you? It's Sunday morning. It's 8 in the morning on Sunday. On Sunday morning, it's 8 in the morning. Meaning, you know, a lot of these profiles claim to be in California, so it's 5 in the morning there. And they've set alarms so they can come to my feed and prove what I'm saying, but play the role of the dumbass coward who, you know, won't explain why they're here to begin with, let alone make any reasonable points or any reasonable arguments and, you know, this, that, and the other. Like, isn't that strange? Sunday morning and people have nothing else going on in their world. So they're here. Not because they enjoy it. Not because they found a kindred spirit and someone saying the truth. But because they're mad about the things that I'm saying in ways they can't really express or talk about. Does that make sense to you? Does it make sense to you that there would be all of the people that would be, you know, bothered by me talking about Epstein and Israel and all? Who is going to fall into that category other than pedos and Israelis or pedo-Israelis or, you know, Jays, the cult members? Who else is gonna be motivated enough? You're telling me of all the things that you have going on in your world, sitting here begging for my attention is the most important thing you have going on? That's just strange to me. I mean, I just, you know, it's one thing if you're on the same team and you're finally found somebody saying the things that you're thinking, since nobody else seems to be. But to be like, oh, I'm so mad, I'm gonna say a bunch of dumb shit for no reason. Like, what is the reason? What is the motivation to be here? It's not like I see these profiles on anybody else's page. They just make it a goal to go find people talking about important shit and trying to stop it. I don't like that you're talking about these things. You know, Epstein and his egg-shaped penis. Who is on that team? Jesus loves you. Fuck you and your Jesus. Again, one of these things that Christians just refuse to acknowledge is that their Bible, their whole thing, is a Jewish fairy tale. All of the characters, all the stories, these are Jewish fairy tales. The characters are all Jewish. including your Jesus. And it's just like, at the end of the day, your belief structure, like, I think this is the craziest part, other than the, blind acceptance of the pedophilia problem. But Christians believe that they're not even the number one, like, they're not even Christian God's number one favorite people. The people that worship the God and his son and blah, blah, blah. Those people aren't his favorite. A completely different religion. A religion that hates you. A religion that thinks Jesus is a, false prophet and all this other shit. And Mary is boiling in a vat of semen in hell for all of eternity. And just the craziest fucking shit these people believe. And you believe that as Christians, your Christian God's favorite children, it's not the bad guys in the Bible, the people that actually kill your superhero, kill your Jesus, who is also your Christian God's only child, that those people are Christian God's favorite chosen people. And you don't want to acknowledge the fact that, like, if you're not one of the chosen, then what are you? Because I can tell you, you're one of the slaves. What happened to all the people before Jesus? No heaven for them? Oh, that's a great question. It's the same question as what happens to all the children that are born on continents where Christianity isn't a thing. Like, nobody even knows about it, especially not like in these, dark African tribes out in the middle of the jungle somewhere, or these mountain villages in Tibet or whatever. In China, there's all these individual mountain villages that are way more fucking advanced than they should be, but that's a whole different subject. But all those children that don't even have the choice, they have no idea, they never even heard of Jesus, well, they get to burn in hell for all of eternity because they don't think Jesus died for their sins. The fact that you think you're born sinful, you're born with a good, healthy scoop of Jewish guilt. Here you go. This is like the stereotypical Jewish mother thing, how they use guilt as a weapon. That's basically what it is. Well, he did die for your sins now. So you should give 10% of your earnings every week and ignore all the pedophilia and such. Like, what kind of crazy shit is that? But these are all questions that you can that you can pose to any Christian, and instead of even trying to answer, they're going to get mad, they're going to attack you, they're going to change the subject, they're going to do anything they can to avoid the fact that they know their shit is shit. It's dumb shit. That's why you get angry when people question it. Because it forces you to question something that you're not really comfortable with questioning, because you would have done it by now if you were. But it's this kind of stuff where it's like, okay, so here we are, we're having the big boy conversation. I'm open to all sorts of shit, right? Are all religions false? Of course they are. Especially since the majority of them are an offshoot of Catholicism, which again is an offshoot of Judaism. What's my thoughts on the Israel-Palestine situation? I think the Israeli menace needs to be removed. Though I do have it, so I'm running for president in 2028, for those of you who don't know. And I'm running on the platform that, one of my first orders of business will be to make the chosen cult illegal. And that if you choose to belong to this cult, you don't have to, if you say, no, I'm all for equality for everyone, and I don't demand Semitism and all this other shit, which Semitism simply means policy or predisposition favorable to the J's. Like it's God damn it. I know better than to just say it because people will cry, and I have to show you guys on this one in particular exactly what we're doing here because I don't want any excuses. So Semitism definition. Go down to the Merriam-Webster definition because we all know that Merriam-Webster, the Webster's Dictionary. Oops. Clicked unknown.
Semitism.
So you see that we're here. We're on the Semitism page.
Semitism.
Number 1A, Semitic characters or qualities. Number 1B, a characteristic feature of a Semitic language occurring in another language. Number 2, policy or predisposition favorable to the bad guys. Right? Policy or predisposition favorable to bad guys. This is AI because they can't make any other argument. They have to come up with some sort of bullshit, some sort of something to distract you. So you're not paying attention to what I'm saying, what we're talking about here, and you go in this other direction. Instead of just making arguments against what I'm saying, expressing why they're here to begin with, what motivated you to come here to begin with, that, because you don't support, so it's in an antagonist point of perspective, the antagonist position. So what is it that motivates you to spend your time on my feed trying to get my attention by saying stupid things? And as soon as you can get one of them to fucking answer that shit, I'd be really interested to know. There's a fucking genocide taking place right now. And the people that are facilitating this, did you see Trump when he interrupted that broad? And he was like, excuse me, wait, are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Like it's just like who? I just remembered who that guy, you're talking about Jeffrey Epstein? We're having some of the greatest successes and some of the greatest tragedies too. But during this time, you're going to talk about Jeffrey Epstein? What are you doing? Why would you even be talking about this? It's not like they just released some information and some bullshit and blah, blah. No, what do you mean? You have the Trumpanzees that'll come in here and they won't actually say anything. Like they just the parrots, right? Trump 2028, MAGA, right? They don't ask a Trumpanzee, what is it that you support? What has he done to earn your unwavering support? What promises did he fulfill? Did he end the wars with one phone call? No. Did he lower the gas and food prices? No, they've gone up. What is it that Trump did that was so just awesome that you overlook the fact that he's drug us into war? That we attacked somebody for no reason. They didn't do anything to us. They were actually working with us. They were negotiating with Trump over the nuclear stuff. And the head negotiator guy was who was killed in the Israeli strike on Iran. Like they were like punishing or what, I don't even know, Trump stepped out of line or some shit. I don't know. I mean, I really don't. I think on the highest levels, it's all manufactured theater bullshit. And I'm definitely not dumb enough to think that Trump has any power whatsoever. He's just a bad actor. And maybe he's a good actor in that he can play the bad actor role really well. But he's just terrible. Wait, are you talking about Jeffrey Epstein? And the thing is too, again, show me the Jewish groups that are coming out in opposing the Epstein situation, Jews for Epstein truth, something along those lines. Show me the groups of them that are demanding that this situation be fixed, be answered for. And where is it? You don't see it anywhere. Yep, here we go. Trump derangement syndrome. Ask these dumb Trumpanzees what it is they support about this man, and they attack because they can't give you anything in particular. The things that they support are things that are kept quiet, These are generally racist, sexist, homophobic white men or Jays. And that's what Trump represents, and that's what they support. They literally don't have any like, oh, well, he did this, oh, he did that. They don't know any of this shit. Yeah, we have another one who's been on submarines. Yeah. Much more interested in my take on submarines than this Epstein situation. It's so fascinating. And it really wouldn't be as important if it didn't directly tie into Israel. If he wasn't the, I'd call it the Maxwell character. But if you look into the history of Epstein, it's directly associated with Ghislaine Maxwell, right? For sure. So looking at that history, you see this connection to Ghislaine, and then you have to look at her father, Robert Maxwell, and you see the same thing as the Epstein profile, just a different position, obviously. It couldn't be the exact same or it would be too obvious. But the Epstein profile is just the continuation of this character that Israel provides. And so, when we look into, we'll go to Wiki. And we'll put in Robert Maxwell. I mean, this is one of these profiles that like just listen, how do you hear this and think nothing of it, right? Jeff, your rage bait is way too obvious. It's weird that people use those terms. Like when people you see cops do it all the time where they talk about the person with the camera is trying to bait them into something. I mean, bait me? You can't bait me into something. What are you talking about? Like, you could say all the dumb shit you want. I'm not going to get involved. The only way you could bait me into something would be if it was to, like, help somebody. But, like, I mean, once you understand what you're up against, and you understand that this is Team Jorge type stuff. Team Jorge is just one Israeli Black Ops organization. They have hundreds, if not thousands, of Black Ops organizations running this same software that can generate 30,000 fake social media accounts to attack somebody. Like when you understand that that's what we're up against, and you understand the ACT-IL thing, and you understand like how I mean, seriously, if you were standing outside having a conversation with your friend and another one of the neighbors or someone like that walked up and you're talking about Epstein and the person walks up and he's like, your haircut's stupid. Are you going to be like, what? Like, oh, well, shit, let's talk about that now. Like if somebody walked up and just interrupted your conversation about what you were talking about with someone, you'd be like, what are you doing, man? Like, we're talking about this. I'll talk to you after you're done, I guess. Do you have an opinion on this? You know, but it wouldn't be like people just wouldn't do that. They don't just walk up and start talking about some other bullshit. Most people are courteous enough to, at least listen in and see if they have something to contribute. But Robert Maxwell is one of the most fascinating characters of our time, and most of you have no idea who he was. And it's even crazier to think that, like I've experienced this multiple times recently, where stuff that I read on Wikipedia within the last year, stuff that when we read it, it was just like, what the fuck, how does such obvious bullshit exist and people still ask questions? A lot of that stuff is removed from Wikipedia as of now. When I'm reading the Robert Maxwell bio, and they're talking about, well, here, we'll just do it real quick because it's not that long, actually. That's what she said. Ian Robert Maxwell, born Jan Ludwig Hyman Benjamin Hoch, got to have that real Semitic sounding name, right? Born June 10th, 1923, died November 5th, 1991, was a Czechoslovakian-born British media proprietor, politician, and fraudster. Czechoslovakian meaning Ukrainian. He's from Ukraine. His family's from Ukraine. So it's funny. It says he was a member of Parliament for Buckingham. He was in office from October 15th, 1964 to May 29th, 1970. He was preceded by Sir Frank Markham and succeeded by Sir Bill Benyon. So he had this position that the person before him and after him were knighted, but not him, huh? So you just have to hear this. Like, if this isn't the most goofy, sort of wishy-washy, fake narrative, right? After escaping the Nazi occupation of his native country, Maxwell joined the Czechoslovakian army in exile during World War II and was decorated after active service in the British Army. Had to create that narrative, right? In subsequent years, he worked in publishing, building up Pergamon Press to a major academic publisher, meaning he was in charge of what you know. The people that publish the books that teach you what you know, he was the publisher of those books. And it's so Hollywoodism telling. It tells you exactly what the fuck is going on here. Why was he so determined to control the narrative, to control the information that we Goyim have, right? After 6 years as a Labour Member of Parliament, MP, during the 60s, Maxwell again put all his energy into business, successfully buying the British Printing Corporation, Mirror Group newspapers, and Macmillan Publishers, among other publishing companies. Just strange, right? Robert Maxwell led a flamboyant lifestyle, living in Headington Hill Hall in Oxford. So this was his home. Yeah, you gotta love it. Yeah, one of these old Tartarian places. Let's see when they say this thing was built. The hall was built in 1824 for the Morrow family, local brewers. Yep, 1824, gotta love it. From which he often flew in his helicopter or sailing in his luxury yacht, the Lady Ghislaine, named after his daughter, Ghislaine. Now, what you'll see in a lot of these Wikipedia entries is a lot of details that don't necessarily matter, but they add to it. So when you leave this, you'll be like, oh yeah, I read a really detailed story. But you're not going to find details as to the meat and potatoes of things. How he did this, how he did that, how he escaped the camps, and how, he bought up all these companies, and where he got the money from, and just shit like that. You won't find that stuff. Maxwell was litigious and often embroiled in controversy. In 1989, he had to sell successful businesses, including Pergamon Press, to cover some of his debts. In 1981, his body was discovered floating in the Atlantic Ocean, having apparently fallen overboard from his yacht. He was buried in Jerusalem. What? His citizenship. He was a Czechoslovak British. That was his given citizenship from 1946 to 1991. So why was he buried in Jerusalem? Maxwell's death, blah, blah, blah. Early life. Robert Maxwell was born Jan Ludwig Hyman Benjamin Hawk in a small town in Sletinsky Doli in a region of Carpathian Ruthenia in Czechoslovakia, now Solotovno, Ukraine, on June 10th, 1923. Like the rest of the then newly formed Czechoslovakia, the area of Maxwell's birth and upbringing had been part of Austria-Hungary until early November 1918. The area was annexed by Hungary in 1939. Don't know when that Ukraine thing took place. Maxwell was born into a poor Yiddish-speaking Orthodox Jewish family and had 6 siblings. What it used to say, this part got taken out, was that they were so poor that him and one of his sisters had to share shoes. And I just thought that was such a silly line. How do you share shoes? One of you wears the right one of you wears the left one. Like, what do you mean they had to share shoes? But this is so many of these old chosen, superhero characters. They have multiple names. They have, they all have the same sort of backstory where they grew up in these poor Jewish ghettos. And then they yada climbed their way out and became a fucking media mogul. Like, it's just crazy, right? 6 siblings. Most of his relatives died in Auschwitz after Hungary was occupied in 1944 by Nazi Germany. Right? So just in case there was any sort of trying to look into the history of the guy or interview relatives or family members or anything like that, well, they all died. Oh, well, that sucks, huh? But years earlier, he had escaped to France. In 1940, he joined the Czechoslovakian army in exile at Marseille. Which is just like, where's the timeline here? When did he, he was born in 23. So in May 40, he was 17 when he joined the army. That's weird. But there'll be no record of him or anything. After the fall of France and the British retreat in Britain, Maxwell, using the name Ivan Demure or Leslie Demure, because, we all have multiple names, don't we? When people look into your history, they're going to find multiple identities for you, right? Completely different names that you used to go by, right? Because damn near every single fucking character that you look up that's not mainstream, like a Benjamin Franklin, well, that's going to be Ben Franklin. But you know, the leader of the founder of the Nation of Islam, Wallace Fard Muhammad, had like 8 different names, appeared in the history at like 30 years old, and like the whole story is A, fantastic, but B, completely hard to believe. It's just stupid, right? Just incredibly stupid to even begin to believe it. The surname taken from a popular cigarette brand, Lemur, or Demure. He took part in a protest against the leadership of the Czechoslovakian army. With 500 other soldiers, he was transferred to the Pioneer Corps and later to the North Staffordshire Regiment in 1943. Right? Like, okay. How does this even... You take part in a protest in the military and you get moved to a higher position because of it? This is where it gets pretty silly too, right? After the fall of France... Oh, wait. Sorry. Took part... He was then involved in action across Europe, from the Normandy beaches to Berlin. So he was involved in the famous stuff. He was like, it's just silly how they do this. And achieved the rank of sergeant. Maxwell gained a commission in 1945 and was promoted to rank of captain. So he joined at 17 in exile, then took part in a protest and was transferred to one group and then to another group in 1943. And then he was in action for the next year and a half or so, if that. And then by 45, he's promoted to captain. I mean, you know, it says he was transferred in 43. He was then involved in action across Europe from Normandy beaches to Berlin. It's a lot of travel, but whatever. Where he achieved the rank of sergeant, and then by 45 he was captain. Is that how that generally works in the military? I don't know that. Right? Does anybody military-wise, is that a common thing for people to go from, you know, low-level nothing to partaking in protests, going against the narrative, to being transferred twice, then to be seen action, then given the rank of sergeant, and then leapfrog into captain position? Is that how that works? My ex-bill was captain my 35 Army. So he's nowhere near 35 here. He's like 20, 22 maybe. And, you know, I'd like to know, like, your ex-bill, was he a nuisance? Was he partaking in protests? Like, how did he get that? He's corporal now at 42. Yuck. Poor guy. Out there fighting Israeli wars. Everybody that's military, that's military related, spouses and whatnot, well, he's your ex. He's your ex for a reason. Because he was probably crazy as fuck. Forcing these guys to do shit that goes against what they think they're doing. That has to fuck with their heads. Let's see. In January of 45, Maxwell's heroism in storming a German machine gun nest, right? Because he was so badass that he was dodging bullets and shit. Storming a machine gun nest. Pew, 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 pew. He's out there dodging bullets and shit. He's an agent. Won him the Military Cross presented by Field Marshal Sir Bernard Law Montgomery. Attached to the Foreign Office when he worked in Berlin during the next 2 years in the press section. Maxwell naturalized as a British subject on June 19, 1946, and changed his name by deed of change of name on June 30th, 1948. So this is now his fifth, Jan Ludwig Benjamin Hoch, then the demure Leslie or Ivan, which aren't even close. Like, it's not like he was like Robert or Bob. No, he was Leslie or Ivan. So that's 3. So this Robert will be his fourth name change. In 1945, Maxwell married Elizabeth Betty Maynard, a French Protestant, and the couple had 9 children over the next 16 years. In a 1995 interview, Elizabeth talked how they were recreating Maxwell's childhood family home who didn't survive the Holocaust. What? Like, what are you fucking talking about? Just such nonsense. And this is how, they're always trying everything they can to tie it back. I bet that was one of the first things she answered, and it had probably been the 85th time in that interview, if they'd been talking for any lengthy period of time, that they brought up the Holocaust. Let's see. Karine died of leukemia. Michael, blah, blah, blah. After the war, Maxwell used contacts in the Allied occupation authorities to go into business, becoming the British and U.S. distributor for Springer Verlag, a publisher of scientific books. What? He just used his fucking connections to get this pretty prestigious sort of job where he is in control of information? Must be nice. In 1951, he bought 3/4 of Butterworth Springer, a minor publisher. Where did he get the money from? I mean, he's been in the military. It's not like he's been working. Where would he have gotten the money to be able to buy a publishing house? He bought 3/4 of it. The remaining quarter was held by the experienced scientific editor, Paul Rosebud. They changed the name of the company to Pergamon Press and rapidly built it into a major academic publishing house. How? See what I mean? Like, this is where the yada yada. You're going to find out stupid shit like, he took part in the protest and just these dumb little things that pop up. I pointed it out earlier. I don't remember what it was where I pointed it out, where you get these nonsensical, who gives a shit elements of the equation, but they're not going to tell you, like, how the fuck do you how? What efforts did they do? How do I find it out? What do I look up? Right? Where can I find a better, more in-depth viewpoint on Maxwell? Gotta love it. Getting hit hard. Boom, 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 boom. In the 1964 general election, representing the Labour Party, Maxwell was elected as Member of Parliament for Buckingham and re-elected in 1966. He gave an interview to the Times in '68 in which he said the House of Commons provided him with a problem. I can't get on with with men, he commented. I tried having male assistants at first, but it didn't work. They tend to be too independent. Men like to have individuality. Women can become an extension of the boss. Again, like, of all the things to have been written about this man, all of the interviews he's ever given in his life, this is the one that gets quoted? Just interesting, right? It seems like trying to paint a picture, but what would be the purpose of that quote? It really doesn't even mean anything. You know, it's they're talking about how he was an MP, a member of parliament, and then all of a sudden he gives an interview to the Times where he's talking about how he can't get along with men, and like, what? Maxwell lost his seat in 1970 to conservative challenger William Benyon. He contested Buckingham again in both 1974 general elections without success. At the beginning of 1969, it emerged that Maxwell's attempt to buy the tabloid newspaper News of the World had failed. Again, what does this have to do with his biography? We're going to talk about how he failed at something? You're going to give me the details as to how he failed at purchasing one of the companies, but none of the details as to how he succeeded in doing it? All right, let's reset, because this whole 9 watchers and 7 likes just doesn't make any sense. They've clearly shut shit down. So I'm going to come back. If you want to come back, come back. If not, pedophiles, kill yourself.